I'm 100% convinced people will live in the Vision Pro for like the vast majority of the day. I'm not sure if you've played it or if you've heard of it, but there was a very good game that explored this concept. It was called Dreamfall, The Longest Chapters.
I
It's a
haven't.
game from 2004, I believe. So you're playing as this girl called Zoe Castillo, and all of a sudden you realize that there's actually two worlds. There's one world that's very science, very tech driven. You have flying cars and maglev trains. And one of the other things you have is this device that you just put on your face and it transports you into this other world, which is a magical world full of mythical beings, and it's ruled by magic. But it turns out that these both worlds are actually real, and that's just the mechanism that allows you to connect to that other world. So in the technological world, people are addicted to these things because then they can go to this magical world and have different kind of interactions that are completely alien from that world.
Man, yeah. So you may have noticed on Horizon.io, we talk about a new dimension where
Yeah,
economies are fun,
yeah.
accessible, and for the benefit of all participants. And it's because like this next generation of games that's powered by Web3 and then might leverage also VR and AR and Apple Vision Pro and these different kinds of devices. It actually is another dimension, another layer of reality that people can explore and participate and enjoy. And it's not less real than this realm of reality. It's just maybe it's less physical. um,
Mm,
but or there might be haptic experiences in which it becomes seemingly as physical. And this
yeah.
contemplation always makes me think that we already exist in a blockchain based virtual reality, the one that you and I are communicating in, and like our clothes are NFTs or SFTs secured to the blockchain that prove that I can't wear the t-shirt at this t-shirt at the same time you're wearing it.
Yeah, I mean,
And
100%. Who's to say what's real and what's not? Because we're here having a conversation through magic underwater internet cables, but it is real. Even though we're not physically in this space, the experience that we're having is real as it can be, through camera, audio, all that. But imagine if you could stimulate the brain to
yeah,
feel sensations or emotions, or that would be 100% a real experience. And it's as it is exciting, it's also frightening to think about at the same time.
totally, man. I mean, did you see the interview between Lex Friedman and Mark Zuckerberg in the Meta world?
I watched I saw snippets of it. I watched like a
Yeah.
compilation of the best bits of it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure it doesn't have haptic sense sense yet, but when Lex is in this virtual experience, like a VR experience, and
Yeah.
interacting with Mark Zuckerberg, it's almost as though he's having this kind of as though he's seeing God, because it's like he realizes, he's like, his brain starts to not be able to differentiate between the fact that he's in a virtual experience. It just starts feeling so real to him that he's like, whoa, like he feels as though he's with Mark in this other realm,
Yeah.
and unaware that it's a virtual experience. And then it makes him question, like, okay, what is real? And I agree with your point of it's wonderful, and simultaneously there is a frightening component to it, because I don't particularly desire a world where people are just sitting in their house all day and like drinking through a straw, some kind of supplement.
Yeah.
Like, I think we remain biological beings, and our physical hardware, our bodies require movement and activity to create and enable like proper hormonal response within our physiological ecosystem.
Right.
And but I mean, at the same time, if in fact, like maybe you and I right now are in a virtual reality, right? And these bodies we can move, and it's as real and stimulating as we've ever known. So maybe we are sitting in a pod somewhere, but because we're stimulating our neurology in a particular way, that like our physical vessels elsewhere, or if we even have a physical elsewhere in the other dimension, like maybe it's
Yeah.
fine and perfectly healthy. I don't know. And maybe that's achievable in this next iteration. But yeah, obviously, like lots to think about and both like awe inspiring. And to your point, at the same time, there is a frightening component to it.
I think if there's a balance to it, though, then that could definitely work. I feel like having a virtual space where you could have real experiences is needed purely because sometimes you have to communicate in an increasingly globalized world. You have to communicate with people remotely. You have to work with people remotely as well. So it makes perfect sense. I also think there will definitely be some people that are going to overdo it and are going to end up obsessing over that reality. But that's with all things. I feel like
Oh,
there's a
yeah,
certain thing about human beings that makes them obsess over something or gets them addicted to something. I'm not sure exactly what it is or to put my finger on, but it's humans. And if we learn to become better humans and control those urges, I feel like we shouldn't put a foot in front of innovation because
yeah,
what if we get addicted to it? Yeah. Well, I
totally,
hope
man.
we do get addicted to it and we learn from it.
Yeah, man. I mean, and to your point, like there's a famous neuroscientist named Dr. Carl Hart, and in all the studies and like scientific exploration he's done, he's concluded, whether he's right or wrong, I don't know, but he's concluded that there is no activity or substance on earth that is any more addictive than any other. So like like heroin has the same addictive properties as going to the gym does, as going for long walks, as video games do, as writing does, as painting does. And it just depends on the individual human and their upbringing and genetics and environment and everything. And so I agree with your point that like all tools have the potential for wonderful creations and for being exploited and overdone and detrimental. Like you could use a pencil to create beautiful art and poetry, or you could use it for violence by like
Yeah.
stabbing something with it, right? Like it's a neutral thing. So I agree with you that we shouldn't like halt innovation around these technologies because we're gonna. And I think historically, most almost all technologies, of course not every single one, but almost all technologies have been net beneficial, even if
Yep.
they have some downsides to them. And on if you take all of them together, it's definitely net beneficial, at least in my opinion, and I think most people. So it's good to continue the exploration. And yeah, at times like regulation and oversight is required to just like keep things on the rails and not have us go too far out of control. But yeah, I think it's like I'm tremendously optimistic, and I always have been about where we're heading, because I also think a lot of the people building these things have good intentions. I know like we do, like our company values that love openness and play, right? So that's what we're trying to infuse more of into the world. And I know we're not the only ones. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really optimistic and excited.